The first time that little girl wrapped her tiny arms around my neck and whispered one heartbreaking word, the entire restaurant fell silent in my mind. I wasn't her father. I wasn't even supposed to be part of her life. I was simply the man foolish enough to accept a joke date with my best friend's ex-wife. But in that single fragile moment, everything changed. The smile on her mother's face disappeared. My heart stopped, and I realized that sometimes the family you never expected becomes the one you can't imagine living without. Before we begin, if you believe in second chances, unexpected love, and stories that remind us hope can appear when life feels broken, please like this video, leave a comment telling us where you're watching from, share it with someone who believes in love again, and subscribe to Bright Acts so you never miss another emotional journey. There was a time when I believed loyalty had simple rules. My name is Ethan, I was 36 years old, and my closest friend for nearly 2 decades was Ryan. We survived college together, built careers together, celebrated birthdays together, and even stood beside each other during the happiest and darkest days of adulthood. So when Ryan married Emily, I respected every boundary. She became my friend's wife, and nothing more. She was kind, intelligent, and quietly funny, but I kept a comfortable distance because friendship meant everything to me. Life, however, rarely respects the rules we create. 3 years after their wedding, their marriage collapsed under endless arguments, financial pressure, and emotional exhaustion. The divorce wasn't dramatic with betrayal or scandal. It was simply the slow death of 2 people who no longer recognized each other. Ryan moved to another state for work and visited their 2-year-old daughter Lily only occasionally. Emily remained behind, balancing 2 jobs while raising Lily almost entirely on her own. Months passed before I saw Emily again. She looked exhausted in ways sleep could never fix. Dark circles surrounded her eyes, and yet she still smiled whenever Lily laughed. I offered to carry groceries one rainy afternoon, expecting nothing more than a polite thank you. Instead, I found myself fixing broken shelves, replacing light bulbs, and assembling toddler furniture over the following weeks. It wasn't romance. It wasn't obligation. It simply felt wrong to watch someone drown while pretending not to notice. People noticed anyway. Mutual friends started whispering. Ryan jokingly told everyone that if anyone could tolerate Emily's stubborn personality, it was probably me. I laughed with everyone else, never imagining those careless jokes would someday become reality. One Saturday evening, our group gathered for dinner. The conversation turned into playful teasing, and someone dared Emily to let me take her on one date, just to prove we had absolutely no chemistry. She rolled her eyes, laughed louder than anyone else, and accepted the challenge. She announced that if she survived one dinner without wanting to throw water in my face, everyone else would owe her dessert for a month. Everyone laughed. I laughed too. But underneath the laughter, something about her tired smile stayed with me. Our first date wasn't romantic. We spent half the evening discussing cartoons because Lily refused to watch anything except dinosaurs and singing vegetables. Emily admitted she had almost canceled because she felt guilty leaving her daughter with a babysitter. I admitted I hadn't been on a date in nearly 3 years because work had become my entire identity. We laughed over burned pasta, terrible coffee, and embarrassing childhood stories. Neither of us noticed the restaurant closing until employees politely reminded us they wanted to go home. The joke somehow turned into another dinner, then a walk through the park, then helping Lily build sandcastles, then movie nights where the toddler usually fell asleep before the opening credits. Nothing happened quickly. Neither of us wanted to betray old friendships or create unnecessary pain. We moved carefully, almost fearfully, trying to convince ourselves we were simply enjoying each other's company. The hardest part wasn't falling for Emily. The hardest part was wondering whether I deserved to. Ryan had never asked me to stay away from her. In fact, he barely mentioned her anymore. Still, every time I looked in the mirror, I questioned whether friendship had invisible lines that should never be crossed. I even called Ryan one evening, hoping to clear my conscience. He surprised me by laughing softly and saying he had known long before anyone else that Emily deserved someone who showed up every day instead of making promises from hundreds of miles away. He admitted their marriage had ended because he kept choosing work over family until there was nothing left to save. His words didn't erase my guilt completely, but they allowed me to breathe again. Months passed. Lily slowly transformed from being shy around me into treating me like part of her tiny world. She insisted I push her swings higher than anyone else. She demanded I read the same bedtime story with different funny voices every single night I babysat. She proudly showed me every crayon drawing, every scraped knee, every tiny achievement that felt enormous through the eyes of a child. Then came the afternoon none of us could have predicted. Emily and I were sitting outside a neighborhood cafe while Lily happily colored pictures beside us. It felt like an ordinary day filled with sunlight, coffee, and simple conversation. Lily climbed into my lap after finishing her cookie. She looked up at me with complete innocence, gently touched my cheek, smiled the biggest smile I'd ever seen, and called me Daddy. Time stopped. Emily's coffee cup froze halfway to her lips. People at nearby tables glanced toward us. Lily simply giggled, unaware that one tiny word had shaken two adults to their core. Emily quietly explained that Lily had recently started asking why other children had fathers picking them up from daycare. She confessed that Lily often spoke about me after I left, saying I fixed everything, carried her when she was sleepy, and never forgot bedtime hugs. Somewhere inside that innocent heart, she had connected love with presence rather than biology. That night, Emily cried harder than I had ever seen. She apologized repeatedly, worried Lily had placed impossible expectations on both of us. I held her trembling hands and finally admitted what I had been afraid to say for months. I didn't love Lily because she reminded me of someone else. I loved her because she had slowly become part of my own heart. And I loved Emily not because she was my best friend's former wife, but because she had shown extraordinary strength when life gave her every reason to give up. From that day forward, nothing was rushed. We spoke honestly with Ryan, who surprised us once again by giving his blessing. He promised Lily that loving another father figure would never mean loving him less. That maturity healed wounds none of us realized were still open. The following year wasn't perfect. There were awkward family gatherings, uncomfortable questions from strangers, and moments when all three adults struggled to redefine what family truly meant. But love proved stronger than embarrassment. Respect became stronger than resentment. Forgiveness became stronger than pride. On Lily's 4th birthday, she ran across the backyard holding a handmade paper crown. She placed it carefully on my head before hugging both me and her mother together. In that moment, surrounded by laughter and balloons, I realized happiness rarely arrives wrapped inside perfect circumstances. More often, it grows quietly through ordinary acts of kindness, patience, and showing up day after day. If this story has touched your heart so far, please take a moment to leave a comment below and tell us, what does family truly mean to you? Your words may encourage someone who needs hope today. A year later, under the same oak tree where Emily and I once admitted our fears, I asked her to marry me. There were no expensive fireworks or dramatic speeches. Lily simply handed Emily a tiny ring box while proudly announcing that it was finally time for us all to have the same last name. Emily cried before I even finished asking. I cried because I realized the greatest moments in life rarely happen the way we imagine them. Our wedding wasn't about replacing the past. It wasn't about pretending mistakes had never happened. It became a celebration of healing, forgiveness, and unexpected beginnings. Ryan attended with genuine happiness, proving that maturity sometimes creates miracles anger never could. When Lily scattered flower petals down the aisle, she looked back at me with the same trusting smile that had first changed my life in that cafe. She no longer needed to ask who would always be there for her. She already knew. If this story reminded you that love can appear in the most unexpected places, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, subscribe to Bright Acts, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Sometimes the people who enter our lives by accident become the family our hearts were waiting for all along.